Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to another edition of Addressing
Mhm.
Military Culture. I'm your man. We're here again. U.S. Army vet Carl Sean Watkins is in the house today. And I'm joined by my one and only buddy, not the one and only, but my vet buddy, Charleston. He's representing the U.S. Air Force veteran. And we just kicking it here for another live conversation addressing the military culture. And by it being, well, I think yesterday was actually the day, but we kind of like celebrating this month, so to speak. You know how one thing turns into a whole month of celebration, and we're just celebrating women in the military. Yeah, the women in the military. What advances have they made? Some of the struggles and just the gender equality. There's still some obstacles and struggles there that they're going through as far as moving through the ranks, being respected as counterparts, even being promoted as such as their male counterparts, and what that means and what's going on with that. So, what's going on with you, Charles? Man, what's going on?
Man, I'm good. I'm excited. Is there's so much going on, but I love the fact that despite all that's going on, we still take time to appreciate and honor, women in the military and Women's History Month.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. There's a lot of things going on. On to talk a little bit about the current event of things. We know what's going on with Russia and Kuwait and the battle that's waging over there, and there's so many. There's so many different headlines, and I know we getting it killed because I'm on the East Coast and we almost at $5 a gallon for gas, man. That's the only thing I know, man. And I got two SUVs in the family in the car, so of course, I am in the car. Now, my wife got an SUV, and I'm like, "Oh, do you got to drive that? So much. I parked mine, so I got a little car that I roll around in. When I have to go long distances, so I use a lot of gas, but it has become my everyday vehicle now because of gas. I filled up the SUV. I think it was Saturday. Man, I think it was $102, man.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I just remember I could spend 40, 45, tank be full. We are at almost $5 a gallon, man, and it's rough, man. But we're facing a lot of things, man. We thank everybody that's showing up. Good morning to you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in, joining the conversation. We are celebrating women in the military. We're just talking about, and I had a question. Who was some of the women that you may have ran across or been in service with in the military, Charles? That kind of made an impression on you. It kind of was like, yo, she's probably going someplace. She's probably going to be, she's probably going to be high ranking or something to that nature.
Well, I'll tell you the first woman that comes to mind that really impacted my career was Master Sergeant Tony Greenfield. I was at my second duty station. I was in Aviano Air Base, Italy. I was I was 20 years old, and we had a flight commander. This guy was a major, and he was absolutely horrible. I mean,
Mm.
he was a horrible person. I heard him say that. I heard him say because I heard him say that we're not going to get into racism and so on,
Right.
but he talked about because he was white, and he talked about how stupid the black colleges are because they gave him a minority scholarship to go to North Carolina A&T.
Wow.
And he was very sexist and racist, but I didn't hear the racist things. I saw the sexism. And
Hmm.
a lot of the women didn't hear the sexism, but they heard the racism.
Okay.
So then Master Sergeant Tony Greenfield comes in, and so the major was very aggressive. I mean,
Mm.
he was aggressive. He was very intimidating. And as a 20-year-old, I was not challenging this guy. Like,
Mm.
okay, I'm gonna do my job. So the Master Sergeant Greenfield comes in, and she immediately is like, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not putting up with this at all.
Mm.
Within a matter of months, the major was fired
Wow.
for racism and sexism. hostile, unprofessional workspace. And so I'll give you one example. Is back then. So when I joined the Air Force, it had more than twice as many people as it does now. I think it had between 700 and 800,000 people. And
Mhm.
so everyone in that flight commander position had a secretary. I forget the
Yeah.
official name, right?
Okay.
And so he had an office big enough for two desks, one for him, one for a secretary.
Mhm.
And the Air Force, almost sexism. I think almost everyone that got those jobs were women, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about this is back in 1996.
Okay.
He had calendars on his wall of women in bikinis
Oh
and
wow.
vintage aircraft. And when she complained about it, he said, "I'm the boss. This is my office. I can have a calendar up if I want to." So that was just one
Wow.
example. He was fired. And it made me realize, through the actions of Sergeant Greenfield that, man, you got to step up. If something's not right, you have to say something. And so many people say, if you see something, say something, be vigilant, all this, so on and so on and so on. Those are nice, phrases and buzzwords. But she actually did it. She actually, so I mean, that wasn't, on a global scale,
Mhm.
or that impacted, the couple dozen of us immediately, where she stood up for what's right. She stood up against, discrimination. So I saw that firsthand. And I'll never forget her, man, because that was huge. That was huge for me.
Yeah, just even thinking about that and understanding the dynamic of that, it's amazing. Oh, I didn't have, and I guess being in and the time that I was in, I didn't have any women per se. That I mean, being in the army, being the time I went in, I was in the 80s. It was kind of like, you know, the women still hadn't got to that progress of, holding ranks, even being treated fairly. Oftentimes, when I think of the army, I think about G.I. Jane, the movie, and some of that. But a lot of people don't realize that happened to her as women, but that also happened to a lot of men who were minorities or whatever, because we a lot of the brothers that I went in with, we were kind of treated like that as well, ostracized, what I mean, made to do KP duty, what I mean, peel potatoes, cleaning the latrine with toothbrushes, we were given those kind of duties as well, but I wasn't around any women per se, but I am glad, and now that we got one that is joining us today, so we got Heather. What's up, Heather?
Hi, I'm at the gym. The
Yeah,
vacuum's near me.
that's all right. That's all right. She's working out. She's working out. What's going on, my friend?
No, not much. I obviously took today off. Um, I was promoted to a new position, and
Yes, yes, yes. We
that's been
celebrating women in the
overwhelming.
military. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's been overwhelming. And so today was a down day, a slower day, and I'm like, hey, I got like 100 days of leave. I think I'm gonna just take one and
I
just
think so.
reset. I'll come back tomorrow.
I think so. So yeah, we're just talking about celebrating the women. Me and Charleston had just got started. For all you guys who don't know, Heather is one of the she's active military. So she gives us that perspective of understanding what's going on in real time. See, me and Charleston, we don't have those benefits no more. They didn't booted us out, so we got to tell you about what used to be. But see, Heather can tell you what's going on in real time. And Heather, we were just talking about the question that I really, really wanted us to kind of like dive in on, excuse me, and give some kind of credence to was as far as how have women come now. Is the U.S. I kind of put it in here. Is the U.S. is it a leading or a lagging organization in regard to gender equality? I know there's been some progress. We can always say, I mean, if things were different today than they were yesterday, we hurry up and say, "Oh, we're making progress," right? But what does that truly, what does that truly mean? I know I was talking to Charleston. I was saying I think it was President Obama that had signed with the bill, sort of like letting women have the opportunity to go to war and to go to combat, and have that kind of like equal footing if they chose so. But you, as being a woman and a high rank in the military, how have you seen it? Is the U.S. lagging or are they kind of leading with that gender equality?
So I'll say I'm not high ranking, just an E6. But so I think that yes, President Obama did sign that, which was amazing. It allows us to join career fields that previously were only male career fields. As far as like combat and stuff, it's kind of crazy to me that we were just now like officially allowed, because
Yeah.
I had deployed outside the wire multiple times prior to that. So it was still like, even though it wasn't signed into effect, I was still deploying and doing those things that women weren't traditionally doing.
Mhm.
Um, but I'll absolutely say we're still lagging, right? Progress is great, but it's definitely slower than I think it could be. But I think as far as like the military organizations go, like we have women teams, and men are like large part of these women's teams, like breaking glass ceilings and getting further. I think we've picked up momentum. Like we're not just progressing, but we're picking up momentum, and it's becoming louder. But I think that when you still look at our leaders in the senior positions, it's still typically, with the exception of obviously General Brown and Chief Bass, it's still typically males, and white males. So I won't say that like for us to get up to speed, like it needs to be diverse, but it kind of does, right? Like that's how we can
Yeah.
show it's more equal. So I we're picking up momentum. We're definitely improving, but obviously with most things, it's just now coming to light, and we still have plenty to grow on. I am thankful that my last career field, while I felt the women were treated indifferently, this one has been the complete opposite. Minus a few occasions where I felt like my bosses believed I belonged in the kitchen. I now like I don't feel the pressure of having to like double my work or double my effort to prove that I'm capable. Like I'm being given the opportunities, and I think that I'm excelling at them. But I'm grateful just for the opportunity and the people to believe in me. And I don't think it has anything to do with who I am, but the fact that I'm capable, and that's nice to be seen for what I'm worth and what I'm capable of, rather than what box I may or may not be checking as far as gender and skin color.
Yeah, I think there has been some progress, but I could definitely go just to tag in on that and in agreement, total agreements with you that it is definitely lagging. Uh, uh, it is. I have some relatives that were female that are in the military, and they were doing some of those things back that you're talking about, really being deployed and being in those areas. Charleston probably could attest to that as well. They were being in some of those areas to where it was not maybe nationally known that women were there, but they were there. We had a lot of them that was in intel, that were doing different kind of things, and they were right there in that. And even if we were taking back to historically, women has always played a part. Played an essential part in there, just like we were talking about minorities last month, and I think the recognition is way overdue for the value, because I'm a value guy, right? And it doesn't matter to me whatever you present to me. If it's valuable to me, I recognize it, right? It has nothing to do with how it looks. It has nothing to do with where it come from. If it provides value to me, I'm recognizing that, and we have such an issue with equating that to people and value, right? Because we'll go pick up anything and anything, regardless of how it looks. But if it works, if it brings value to us, man, we're trusting in that. It could be our favorite tool, it could be our favorite car, whatever. We're trusting in those things, right? But when we have actual people that are bringing the valuable things that's needed to areas of strength and to build strength and to make change and to be diverse and all those kind of things. We never put the value in that, and it's going to continue to have us in lagging, not only in military, just in life and dealing with humanity in general, because our value is our diversity. I always say that what we're able to bring from different perspectives create the value of. So I don't know if that'll ever be come across where people will totally understand that. Hopefully, at some point in time, we'll get to where it be enough people to tilt the scales. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What do you think, Charles? Are we leading? I know. Are we lead? Because we were like we like the world's police, right? We the best. We the best military force. You know that. I mean, they constantly tell us this. You know, they brag about it and all. You know, so we're leading the world or the world's police, so to speak. And why are we simply lagging in something I would think would be so simple for us to get a handle on?
Well, one thing I think about is just the culture in general, right? So if you look at the promotion systems, and the reward systems, things like that, they're on paper they are 100% equal. They really are on paper, right? Everyone has to put up 15 bullets. Everyone has to score this many points, and so on,
Mhm.
right? So it's equal. However, what you don't see is when someone, when someone chooses someone over another, like when someone chooses a man over a woman for the award, or when someone is placed higher, right? So this person is number one out of 17, and this person is number three. You don't know that thought process, right? And we don't want to micromanage that, but at the same time, it's like, so for example, getting promoted to the rank of 4-star general, what you have to survive the culture to get there, and you have to survive times when someone says, I don't know, it's just something about him, I think he'd be better at this job than this woman. And I'll give you an example of that. So my wife is in the reserves. She's a Russian linguist, and there was this deployment that came up. And so the email went out. This senior leader sent an email out to a bunch of people talking about, hey, do any of you guys want to volunteer for this deployment? My wife heard about it. She did not receive the email. So you see, on paper, it looks fair that someone gets selected. But my wife never had the opportunity. So when my wife went and asked, why didn't I get the email? The response was, well, you're married and you got 3 kids at home. I didn't think you'd be interested.
Mm.
He thought he was doing her a favor. And those are the kinds of things that you don't see in the policy. Those decisions are the things that you don't see in the final decisions. That he wouldn't even send her the email, giving her a chance to turn it down if she wanted to. And you have to get through all of that to even get to the position of getting promoted to colonel or chief or general. You have to overcome those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, when you think about that, and you hit it right on the head, and I just found some studying and stuff that I was doing, and I like this, and I grabbed this from an article that I was reading about women and the history of women, and one of the ladies that was in this article that were talking in this article, and this is one of her quotes, and she says we should amplify the voices of women who have had the honor of serving to spread the word about how fulfilling it can be. And I don't know, she was coming from a place of just doing such a lengthy time in the military, and I'm trying to remember her name. Um, U.S. Air Force General Lori Robinson. That's who made the quote, and they were talking about some of the things that she had came through the ranks of, and how she had got to being an Air Force general, and some of the things that she had went through, and the, a lot of the women, and what she had said in the most part was that we're doing a greater part now. I can't speak for the Air Force. I wasn't in the Air Force. I really don't know how the policies and those kind of things work. But she said from the Air Force perspective, she was a woman a long time ago in the Air Force, and a lot of things that she went through, she said was prejudice, and a lot of it was she didn't get opportunities and things because of, they talked about family, and what if you get pregnant, and they brought up all of those things, I mean, which are truth, right? It's not like it's not, right? But to alienate, to ostracize, to discriminate against women because of those things, you have to look at that and say, she said it was just an honor to serve, and she wanted to be a voice for those who are younger. But she said it started for her being an older voice that would be able to give the strength and courage for the younger ones to speak out. And in saying that, Heather, I come to you. I know you're very vocal about talking about your service and doing that. So I gotta come to you. How I mean in the essence of what uh the General Lori is saying, she's saying it's still culture because I gotta agree with Charleston. It's still culture. But how important is that for ladies that are leading the way like you to be that example for those that's coming behind you?
So I'll say two women specifically come to mind when I think of that quote. Lieutenant General Mary O'Brien, she's the ISR, the chief of ISR operations for the United States Air Force. I had the opportunity to hear her speak last year.
Okay.
And when I say I was floored by her
Hmm.
story, I was like, because you see leaders in that position and you think, oh, they got there and it was, well, they probably went through things. It was tough. Like they still made it, right? She's still a 3-star general. But
Yeah.
to hear her talk, because she is an officer married to an officer, and from the very beginning of her career, dealing with like sexual assault, and then the the hazing, and oh, you're a woman married to an officer, so you're going to get out, right, and follow your husband, and if you're not going to have kids if you're going to stay in, right? So hearing her
Mhm.
story and hearing someone at that level speak out, I think that empowers the younger to speak out, right? Because you can see her in this position call out all the things that were ugly and the things that she was able to make it through to get there. And the same, there's a chief that I used to work for that she went through very similar things that were extremely tough. And so I think that's one reason why the culture may be shifting, is because we have these women who have made it to these positions and they're telling you, like, I didn't get here easily, and they're able to speak out and fight for the younger ones, right? So I seen a quote that was like, I'm fighting now for the person that I didn't have when I was younger, dealing with certain topics in the military. So that's absolutely a motivation for me to speak out. I'm trying to be the person that I needed when I was the E2 or E3 to speak up, because I was in E4 that was told if the military wanted you to have children, they would have issued them to you. So
Oh
you figure
wow.
out what you're going to do with your daughter having surgery. You figure out how you're going to still come to work. And she was 2, and she's like having like her tonsils and adenoids removed, which typically is an easy surgery, but then she couldn't go to daycare for 2 weeks because of the risk of infection. And I talked to my
Mhm.
supervisor about it, and he was like, I'm not giving you 2 weeks of leave. I'm not going to authorize that. And I'm just like, so what do I do then? Because I'm single. I'll
Mhm.
use my leave. And he's like, if then that was his response. If we wanted you to have children, we would have issued them to you. And I'm just like,
Mm.
so that's one thing that will always be at the forefront of my mind, even when I'm leading troops. Like that was extremely hard on me and stressful, but like I never want to put someone in that position either. So even though they're airmen, I still see them as humans, and I've told them that multiple times. Like what is best for you and what is best for the Air Force can be two different things, but my priority is you. The Air Force we can get to the mission part when we get there. Um, but back to your question, I speaking out absolutely is what's going to change the culture, but promoting the right promoting the right people, right? Because we still have that issue where on paper it looks fair, but behind the scenes it's just not. There's been plenty of times that I have been passed up because of my family situation or because of my husband's job, and oh, you're a single parent more, and I'm the one that has to pick up the kids when they're sick, and I'm the one that has to take them to the doctor's appointments. I'm the one that gets the grief for that, not my husband, because I'm the one that's able to make it work. Um, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because I see those things happen to me, but I know anytime my husband has been like, oh, I have to take off for whatever reason, like my son's daycare just randomly decided to start closing on Fridays. So now the daycare service is only Monday through Thursday. Well, he told his job, hey, I need off on Fridays as much as possible because the daycare is closed. I'm like, okay, cool. Now, if I was to come up and say that,
Yeah.
they would have been like, excuse me, you need what? Where's your family care plan? Like, what's your backup plan to this? So that's still happening, and it sucks. And it even at my position, and I don't want to like speak ill on my leadership, right? Like I know
Mhm.
that they would be like, we'll accommodate it, but I would still feel that tension that's there, and that's something that you can't teach nor can you break without the proper leaders in place. So I can keep going. I'll digress.
I just, I just want to chime in real quick on what you said. When we're talking about getting these leadership positions, we're talking about getting promoted and these different things. And the truth is, the value of the immediate supervisor cannot be underestimated. And I say that because there are plenty of times where women like you, Heather, have decided this shit sucks. And you got out. Yeah, maybe there was a senior leader somewhere that wanted to promote someone like you, but you had enough of that. You had enough of that crap from the immediate supervisor. I can't use the leave that I've earned, that I have the right to use to focus on my 2-year-old. I'm getting out. And I saw that a lot in my career where it's like, it's just not worth it. It's
And that's
not worth.
absolutely what I did. I applied to get out of the military after that issue. I was like, I'm done. Not only is this job one that takes me away from my child for 6 months at a time, because I was deploying every 6 months, but then when I am home for 6 months, you're going to tell me that I can't take leave to take care of her. It's like they're selfish with me. But like, I will be a mom before I'm ever an airman. How dare you? And that, thankfully, because of the things that I've gone through, I had a conversation with a girl 2 days ago, and I'm like, you're getting out of the military, and what is there anything that Heather can do to keep Alyssa? And she was like, I just don't want to leave this work section. And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, well, my fiance wants to come work here and we can't work together.
Work together.
And I don't want to go to another shop. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't work together? And she was like, we were told that we're not allowed to work together because we're engaged. And I'm like, that is not a rule. That's somebody's personal preference. That's not a rule. And then I find out the backstory. A few leaders before me had a thing going with a troop and didn't want her boyfriend coming because I was going to mess up their unprofessional relationship. And I'm like, that under no circumstance, if you can keep it professional, right, in the work area, there's no reason you can't work together. And I joked, like, if you have baby mama drama, take it to the hallway. And she laughed and she's like, we can be professional. And I was like, and if you want to stay in this work section, I can keep you here. That I have the power to do that, but I just need to know how to help you. And because of that, she extended. Tomorrow she's extending for another 12 months in the Air Force so that she can figure out what she wants to do outside the military. But she was going to be getting out in May. And I was like, how many times have I told y'all, if you need something, I just need to know, just communicate it. And she flat out told me, like, nobody has actually ever been there. Even the women that in the work area or the work center, it's kind of always been like, you're just fighting for your own, right? Like just to make your own name. So it's still sad. Like, even though I'm communicating it with people, like they still don't believe that you're genuinely out for the best interest of them.
Yeah, it's sad, and it's actually past sad. It's sickening when you think about it, right? We always attach sad to things that sounds like that, but it's also sickening that those kind of things continue to perpetrate. And we're aware of. I mean, to put a coexistence together where it's comfortable for you to continue to wallow in wrongness is just like incredible to me, right? I'm not going to allow them to come because you're going to mess up my little thing that I got going on, which ain't supposed to be going on anyway, by the way, right? But I don't want to make sure I don't want one wrong to mess up my other wrong so I can keep doing wrong. Like, how stupid does that sound, right? And when you think about that, though, even the strength that even the stupidity of it, how it sounds to say, how it continues to gain traction day by day. These kind of circumstances, situations, we're finding out they've been going on for quite some time. They're starting to be in certain areas of our life in media and all these kind of things. We're starting it, and the Me Too movement is really just kind of like pull the blankets off a lot of things, and we're starting to see, which we already know, which we had a lot of people who were scared to say and fearful of. And I mean, and it goes all across. I mean, I think I was watching the news or something yesterday, and they was talking about the Queen's son, Andrew or whatever he is. He's paying so hush money, so to speak, right? With all of the things that he's done. Like this is a wide ranging issue, and the military definitely in the bonds of it a lot. They cover up, and I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's a systematic way of just covering things up and covering butts of those. And then I think it's a lot of confusion as to you don't really have the power to stand up. You don't really have it. And like Charles was saying, the immediate supervisor, how important that is. If I'm a private and I'm seeing wrong in the military, the only person I can go to is the one above me and report the wrong, right? That's the only really option I have when I look at it. I'm a private in the I don't know too much. I'm just, oh man, I'm talking so powerful. I'm moving stuff back there. But I mean, what can be some of the things, and I guess that'll lead us into our next point. What could be what are some what can be done to address some of these issues of the inequality and underrepresentation of the women in the military? What are some of the things that you guys think can really bring that to light, more so than just us having conversations? Because everybody's talking now. I said that since we came into 20, everybody's coming to the table for the hard talks. How many are leaving with solutions and action plans? Right? Everybody talking about it. Yeah, I know this wrong. I know this wrong. So, also, what you think, man?
So I'm gonna be real. I have a solution in mind,
All right,
but Heather looks like she's about to explode.
Yes, Heather.
Yes,
Heather,
go
I ain't
ahead,
wanna,
sir.
I ain't wanna pick on you, Heather, because we talk about the women. But I'm gonna give you
Ooh,
I'm gonna give you the floor there, because you in the gym, you probably just working it out, just getting it out, getting it on.
yeah, drink my pre-workout already. I'm ready.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I would say, with the most respect possible, holding people accountable, showing them the door when they wrong. I'm not saying like kick all the men out. It's going to be a women's force, but like we, uh, the hush money comment that happens. I can't pull like facts, right? Like I don't know the numbers, but I feel very strongly. Heather feels strongly that hush money would happen, equivalent of hush money would happen more times in the military for men than women, because for me, I was made an example out of when I was a female in the career field, the cop career field. So I was outnumbered like 1 to 4. There was like for every 4 men, there was 1 woman in my unit. And at one time it was like 1 to 8. And you can't tell me that we received the same punishments, because we absolutely did not. So something that I did, I lost a stripe over, and in theory would have ended my career, for this very same person to do something to include sexual assault and drinking and driving. And they removed squadrons, and the next thing I know, they're like promoted.
Wow.
Granted, I won't say that I did not sexually assault someone. I did not drink and drive. I'm saying that what I had done was so much less than that, and I lost a stripe over. So they made an example, which is what I was told. We're making an example out of you. And like I said, that could have ended my career. Thankfully, my immediate supervisor at the time fought for me. And do in return, him fighting for me, I fought for myself, and I've been able to get to the position that I'm in now. But the paper thing, like everything is equal on paper, and the things that actually happen, it's so lopsided. If we would actually, and we discussed this with like the sexual assault and kicking people out, if we would hold people accountable, like if you do, even with our law system in the civilian sector, like if we would standardize punishment, and we would standardize this is wrong and we're not going to tolerate it, then maybe it could help. But at the same time, like speaking about, I can speak until I'm blue in the face, but until people see results from things that are happening, they're not going to change, in my experience, period. Right? Like, I'm going to say that the guy that I worked for last he did not get to his position and then all of a sudden start telling people to choose between being a mother and a career. He didn't just come there. So he grew up with that, and now look at where he is, and he's able to affect those people. Had he been stopped years ago, maybe he would have never been put in that position. Maybe he would have learned. You can't teach people to have morals. So we surely promoted him with his lack of morals. stopping it before it got to that point could have had, I think, a different impact. And I won't say that I'm the norm, right? I'm way more headstrong than I was 10 years ago. But I can only imagine all the women that we're pushing out and silencing. And then you're taking those people who could have been survivors or warriors and advocating for women further in the military, and we're kicking them out of the military, or they're leaving because they want a family. So I won't say stopping it in its tracks, but that's almost what you have to do at every level. I don't care if you're a command chief or you're a general. We're not going to just relieve you of command and then put you in a command somewhere else. No, if you have to get relieved of command because you're wrong, then you should be out of the military. Let's make that the example, not one woman that you want to make an example out of that's an E3. Like, we got it all backwards. We're still we know we're lagging. I don't.
Yeah, hey, it is what it is, and it's definitely the truth. And when you look upon it, it's across all boundaries. We just totally have it backwards.
We allow it. So when you
Yeah.
allow it, if I allowed an A1C or an E3 to speak to another E3 that way, he's only going to continue his military career thinking he can get away with it.
Hmm.
So if I figuratively put my foot in his rear end and make
I
that
hear you.
stop and show him like this is wrong, and I show that female like this will not be tolerated, then I'm setting the correct examples that I want to grow up. Now maybe that will keep him from doing it in the workplace. Like I said, I can't fix someone's morals, but I can at
Mhm.
least show him it's not going to be tolerated, so that if he does promote and if he does lead, he won't treat women that way. But that's not what happens. We allow it. And like I said, you have command chiefs and colonels and generals in positions that they're like, you need to choose one or the other because we're not going to actually have all that.
And it's wow, it's a continuation. Like I was saying, and I was thinking about that as you were speaking. It's across all borders, right? And I'm not just talking about military, especially when you delve into the fact of just judicial punishment based upon things done. Like there's no equilibrium of that. And I know they say justice is blind. Believe me, I'm studying law. I understand all the inaccuracies of legalness, and that's the phrase and those are the terminologies that I use because there's so many inaccuracies of our legal system, and what we perpetrate is to be punishment for one and not the other, and how deemed that justice is blind is just truly that we look at that and we say justice is blind for the simple fact that we know the outcome should be right. But we also look at justice as blind. I look at it as even studying it, that justice oftentimes turns a blind eye. That's where I get my understanding of that blindfold that Mrs. Justice wears, because things are not at an equal, they're not at an equal point. And you just look at some of the facets of things. I agree definitely that I was talking to a potential client the other day, and I said we have two sets of people, and I don't know how we got on this, but we got to talk about manners, and it said something about it's like, oh, you're mannerable, and I like how you conduct conversations and things like that, right? And I say, you know what? It's going back to grandma again. She told me it's two kind of people that was raised with manners and people that wasn't. And she said that is the simplicity of people. And I never really thought much about that because we were raised with manners, like no ma'am, yes ma'am, sir, no, excuse me, pardon me, please, good morning, all of those things that we think a human should common sensely should be right. If I see you, like my dad used to say, if I ain't sleep with you last night, I need to hear you say good morning. If we ain't sleep next to each other in the bed, you come from your bedroom to the kitchen and I'm in the kitchen, you should address me and I should address you. That's how we were raised, right? And when she talked about manners and no manners, all of that equivalent that it began at the beginning. And no, we can't go back and re-raise adults, right? If they didn't have that coming up, or they wasn't privy to that, or that wasn't part of their household, um, at some points in time in their life, they came across it to being okay behavior. So what they just and continues to perpetrate is that okay, now I'm in command. Now I get these troops. And you're right. He didn't just wake up one morning and his attitude was that way. There was a continuation of being able to get away with that. And I think if we stand firm to the point of saying we're not having it, and who does it hurt when we make those stands? I always wanted to ask that question because I would hear those and say, well, they they pretty good, or they do good work, or I would hear all of these substances in order to protect them from the wrong that they've done. Oh, he's a great boy. Oh man, his parents are lovely. Oh, I would hear all of that, and I'm like, but he did wrong. So where are we gonna get to the from him doing wrong? I don't care if his mama was a saint. His mother was Mother Teresa. If he broke the law, he's treating people of this such. She can come see him in jail. I don't understand that. Where do we get lost? I mean, look, I'm being for real. This is real because I see
Yes.
that so much. You know. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh man, I was just agreeing with you on all of that. I'll tell you this. So when I think about how to change the system, when I think about accountability, I look at, first of all, every organization is a reflection of its leaders. If there's a section with 4 people, those 4 people are a reflection of the highest ranking person in that section. Same thing with a flight, a platoon, same thing with the squadron, whatever have it, right? And so what I think about, we have these climate assessment surveys. It's anonymous, and we measure all different kind of things. And we have our DOX, right? Our EO, equal opportunity survey. And what I've seen is some of the answers, some of the results are incredible, where you can see in a certain organization, 40% of people are satisfied at work. 35% of women feel like they're being treated fairly. And so then what happens when you see that is, what can we do to make that better? Um, Hold someone accountable. Think about professional sports. Only 25% of the athletes want to stay here because they hate the culture. Do you not fire the head coach? Right? The players hate it here, all of them. Well, then fire somebody. And we don't do that. We don't do that. We need to identify who's accountable. And one way that we can do that is when you have your annual reviews, incorporate a 360 feedback. You would treat your troops different if they all gave feedback on how you lead. Because right now, leaders are unable to tell if their subordinates are toxic leaders. How can the chief tell if the E5 is a toxic leader? They're not even in the same office. How can the squadron commander tell if the captain is a toxic leader? Well, 360 leadership provides that feedback. So people of the same rank, people that work for me, people that I work for, all provide feedback. And then what happens is, oh, you're the problem. You're fired. But actually, what would happen is it would alleviate a lot of the issues. I hear a lot of people complain about ideas like that. They say it gives the young folks too much power. It enables them to retaliate. And I just think, why are you giving them reasons to retaliate against you? Maybe get your shit together, And then when we're looking at who are we going to put in a position, and like Heather, for you being elevated to the senior enlisted leader position, at some point in time, people above you in rank were able to recognize the job you're doing, but also the way that you take care of your people. The 360 leadership enables us to recognize leaders who lead like you, as well as leaders who need to be fired. You can lose a stripe for a lot of different things, but there's nothing in the UCMJ that says if you suck as a leader. That's not in there. So we need to find a way to incorporate that.
Yeah, that's my next thing. How do we get that in there, right? Yeah, what petition do I have to sign, man? Because I'm gonna sign. I'm gonna cheat on that one. I'm gonna sign a few times. I'm gonna sign on the first page. I'm gonna skip a few pages, sign on the fourth page. I'm gonna make sure my signature goes on that thing a lot of times because we see the injustice in all of that, and it's just something I can't continue to say this enough. It's just across the board where there's no determining factor as to what the stability of punishment should be. I mean, we even see, even to go off the rails a little bit, not really. We go out there. I was watching ESPN, CNN, and the Discovery Channel, right? Those are like my three presets. in my TV. So I get a little bit of sports, I get a little bit of news, and I get a little bit of history. Right, that creates my TV watching experience. And I was watching ESPN yesterday, and he was talking about this gentleman. He was away for football, mental health, the wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. He made a bet with I think it was one of the betting programs. Now he made this bet with his phone, with his name through an app. He bet on his team, the Atlanta Falcons, right? So he haven't played for them in a year because he's been on this mental health leave. So he haven't played with them. But the paradox of it was, the irony of it was, they're in a partnership with the NFL about gambling, right? Which is like ludicrous to me. You know, the NFL tells you don't gamble, but they enter into a partnership with an organization that gambles, right? This is how this is how messed up the world is, right? So they enter into this partnership. So the partnership, as soon as they get his information about the bet, that triggers an alert because he's an NFL player, right? So that sends that information to the league. Very wise, they have him making a legal bet, probably, and and he's not on there. I mean, it's stupid as well because they talk about the law part of that. So I don't want nobody to be like, Carl, well, he did know about that. Yes, it's in his contracts and all that, right? But this guy made a $1,500 bet. I don't know. He been not playing for mental health for over a year. So who's to say what the thought process was? But he made a $1,500 bet to them, and they told the NFL, and thereby the NFL banned him for gambling. Now, in the midst of this and the craziness of this, they didn't ban them. Like, we got people that have assaulted women, beat them down, like in videos and elevators or whatever. They get 2-3 game suspension, then they continue on to sign their big lucrative contracts. Here, this guy is. He made a legal bet on an app that's sponsored by the NFL, though he did break the rules, and I'm not condoning that. He bet $1,500, which, I mean, he's worth quite a few million. I don't understand that bet, but it might have been just something with the mental health, and he just, with that going on. They banned this guy a year. He's going to lose $11 million because once you're banned, of course, they don't have to honor your contract pay for that year. Now he's going to lose $11 million of money through his salary for a $1,500 bet to an organization that partners with his corporation that he works for to go against betting, but they sponsor betting. They sponsor betting on NFL games. How can we be in this system of society, even to taking it to the military, where we continue to have these kind of things in place that don't justify the actions toward people? Like, how can we fix this? How can we fix this?
That goes back to what I said when I said, like, kick them out. Like, if you do this, this is the result. And I'm also studying criminal justice, which I will tell you, it has been, I won't say it's stressful, but it's taken a lot out of me. The evidence of law is actually what I'm in the class I'm in
Awesome.
right now.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, woo,
It's a lot to swallow, ain't it?
yes. Completely unrelated. I'm a CASA. So I testify on behalf of abused and neglected kids.
Mhm.
And my commander was like, I don't know how you do it. The system's so broken. And I'm like, I can't fix the state system. I can't. And I want to make a difference. And the only thing that I'm able to do right now is make a difference in the children's lives to see that not everything is corrupt. And that's the same thing with this. Like, if there was not, the elevator one reminded me of the story of the swimmer. I don't know. I think his name was Brock. He was like this great athlete, swimmer, raped someone behind a dumpster, and the judge was like lenient on him because of his potential. Like, no, it should be, if you rape somebody, this is what's happening. The same, it in so many aspects. If you, and I don't want to step on toes by saying this, but like, if
we step on toes here. We're addressing culture. Yeah, we step on toes here. That's what makes us. That's what makes us awesome. We want them corns to hurt.
If I'm a leader and someone gives me feedback that the way that I'm leading makes them feel some type of way, or I'm right or I'm wrong, as a leader, I need to be able to receive that, which is why I think it's important as the younger levels in the military, that they're getting constant feedback, but they're also allowed to give, like, they're allowed to speak. And when you're able to speak and give constructive criticism, you're able to receive it. So then when I'm a master sergeant, a senior, a chief, and someone gives me feedback, I can handle it because I've been tolerating this for multiple years, not oh, now I'm in this command chief position and I have this woman looking me in my face telling me that I'm wrong and she ain't gonna have it. He didn't know how to handle himself. Yes, I'm discussing myself. He didn't know how to handle me because I was the first person to likely stand up to him. So that constant feedback from the beginning, but then holding people accountable to a standard, not I see where you could go. No, this is where you're at, and this is what you did, and this is where you're gonna go. If we can take that so far. Like if I am acting in a role of my job, if I'm a police officer and I take someone's life, regardless of their skin color or what they were doing or what they have done, if I take someone's life and it is unjust, this is the punishment. If I am a civilian and I take someone's life, this is the, like, and I understand, like I said, I'm in this class, the law of evidence. And so I understand that not every situation is cut and dry. And I got that. But at the end of the day, there is no threshold or like markings to even start that. Like we say, oh, if you rob a store, you could get 5 to 10 years. It could be a felony. It could be a fine. If we would just standardize things and hold people to that standard, I think that maybe it could make a difference. And I say this also because family issues. I had a parent punch my grandparent last week, and I'm like, if that was my child, if my child puts their hands on me, they're gonna get it back, right? Like you're gonna know you're not gonna put your hands on me. And it's just crazy to me because that same grandparent that raised me that way, their child is doing that. And I'm like, where did he go wrong? I would have thought a monster would have raised that person. But I look back and he was never held accountable for anything. He's always gotten away with it. He's always, so that's the same thing in the military. People are if they get away with it, they're going to continue to do it. We got to kick them, just kick them out. Just kick them all out.
It's just like, when I start going down this law road, right, I had already had some inclination and some thoughts concerning the law based upon just some of my own personal experiences and how it really got me on that road based upon a lot of things that I went through. And I was like, yo, it's got to be something with this. I got to understand something. Maybe if I get involved with this, I'll have a clear understanding how this works. And the more and more I got involved in law, the more and more I was upset by there's so many loopholes that are so unfair to so many. And it is what it is. It's what we have. It's what we live by. I'm almost like John Wick. It's the rules. It's what keeps us from living with the animals. But in the essence of that, we live like animals in these rules. And though we're not carnivorous or stepping on people or doing those kind of things, a lot of time this overtime, I won't even say the cracks in the system no more. They're like big holes in the systems, and it's just amazing of how we continue to have these things go on. And I tell you, like my dad told me one time, me and him got into it. I was 14, and I told him that I wasn't taking a whooping no more. And he told me, well, you're not coming in my house. And I was like, whatever it is. He said, I will knock you out and I'll sit here and wait for the police to come and I'll tell them to take you with them because I'm not going to have you put your hands on me. So that kind of thing, I don't know how that went along with that. It looked like we lost Heather. She was at the gym. But we've discussed we discussed some great information, man. We covered a lot of stuff, man. And what do you got any closing remarks? Charles, man.
Well, no, you guys bring up the law.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up the law, and I think that we've come a long way. We've come a long way, and I'm about to tell you a story about the law, right?
Okay.
I'll say we've come a long way in regards to treating women fairly, gender equity in the military, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point in time, when are we going to stop needing progress? Inequality. Like at some point in time, we should be able to say we're equal. We've been making progress for decades. like really? Like let me tell you this. I'm building 6-pack abs. Now, when I tell you I've been doing it for 35 years, you're gonna have questions.
Yeah, especially if they not 6-packs.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute. You've been making progress for 30 years. Have you really been making progress for 30 years? Like, no, you haven't. We've called it progress. And my example is when I was active duty and I heard this story. I say story, but I mean this is what happened. You can Google it. There was a 2-star general in the Air Force, and he was the JAG, the highest ranking legal official, the highest ranking, JAG, Judge Advocate General in the United States Air Force, 2 stars. And a report was filed on him for sexual harassment. So there was an investigation. And his attitude was kind of like, how are you investigating me? I'm the JAG.
Oh, wow.
But the inspector general was able to investigate the JAG because they're two separate functions, right? And so then what happened is they found out this guy had a history of harassment and sexual assault. And the thing about it is lots of things we call harassment that actually are assaults
Yeah.
by definition. And so like one thing he was doing was I think he had a lieutenant colonel working for him, and like she kissed him like every day. Like there was some affection and she didn't like it. But he was like, that's part of working for me.
Oh, wow.
And he groped her and he treated some other women that way. And when I tell you that, you think if I did that as an E7, what would have happened to my career?
Mhm.
He was, listen to this punishment. I mean, so we're talking about a serial harasser, sexual assaulter, right? Because there's a difference between sexual assault and rape. So I didn't hear about him raping anyone, but he
Mhm.
did commit sexual assault like countless times. That was the culture for the ranking Judge Advocate General in the United States Air Force, 2-star general, who was forced to retire
Mm.
as a lieutenant colonel. No, as a colonel, as an 06. Poor guy had to retire as an 06. 06 retirement pay, benefits, the whole night.
Mhm.
Like, poor guy. And you're thinking, wait a minute, if I did that, would I have not been court-martialed? Would I not have been
Absolutely.
like thrown in jail? And so that's the equity piece of it. And that goes back
Mhm.
to what Heather was saying about standardizing a lot of this. And which is part of why the NDAA, I believe this is signed into law. I'm not 100% sure, but we're moving it so that um, sexual assault and sexual harassment allegations are no longer going to be adjudicated by immediate commanders. They're taking it out of their hands.
Mhm.
Because someone above that 2-star in the chain of command was like, well, I think he's a good guy. And you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Well, yeah, he did that. He treated those women that way. Man, but I liked him. He was cool. Really? That's the foundation of our accountability at times. So
Yeah. It's amazing when you think of that, right? And we won't even go to none of the levels of what we've experienced with that. I mean, to go to even to talk about the color angle and some of the things that we've suffered disparagingly in the military just because, and those kind of things. I've had people that I've known that's been in service, and of course, I'll never condone the wrongful things they did. It was wrong, but when I look across it, I saw others doing greater wrongs, and if you can kind of make an equation of that, I'm like, okay, how in the world are they still getting a pension? I mean, for life. And they done this, and here it is. My brother got, court-martialed, and you got other than honorable, right? I mean, it's not a dishonorable, but it's just about the same as far as meaning and getting benefits, right? Because if you don't have honorable discharge, you don't get anything Uncle Sam said you could have. So here you have someone, and that's going to be a coverage of his life for the rest of his life, going to try to get jobs, houses, education. Though that is going to come up, and Uncle Sam makes sure that that's the process. But here you have, on the other hand, this other individual that have done something gravely even more wrong to the eye test that this one has, and they are allowed to just retire as this and get all the full benefits of get the VA, the VA housing and the education, and get all the benefits. And it's just phenomenal to me to see that kind of stuff continue on. And I'm definitely in 100% agreements with you. When will we get to the point? And I guess probably King said that same thing, not in no wise saying that as I am equivalent of his thinking, but I can just imagine him saying that even with the I have a dream speech. When we get to this point where we can have that equality across, or will we ever get to it? That's probably more so the question, because we're still fighting for such things as the same that he was fighting for, in the essence of whether it be race, creed, color, gender. We're still having these fights, right? Still having these fights. And I don't think that it has, and I can say that yes, it has gotten better. We have been able to do more. We have been able to. I want to get to a point in place like he say, when all God's children, black and brown, yellow, we all play together. Everybody in the same sand pit. You know what I mean? All of us bringing value to the world, which we all do anyway, but that way it's recognized and acknowledged. And man, I appreciate the conversation, man. We talking about the women in the military, some of the things that can be done better. We appreciate everybody that has come by. This hour is blew by. Heather had to drop off. The gym was calling her gym person. You know what I mean? I don't want to go in the gym with Heather. Look like she'd take care of some business with you. So I don't want to go in there. She looked like she was working to work it out. But we appreciate her coming by, bringing her perspective as well. Look at we didn't get Jeff in today. Jeff is back into the office, so we have to try to squeeze Jeff in as much as possible. But we thank everybody who has joined. We thank our guests, Heidi, Charlene. We appreciate you guys for coming by, showing up, being a part of this great conversation. Charles, as always, man, tell them where we can find you at, my friend. I think you got a lot of things going on. Let us know what's going on in the world of Mr. Gaines.
Oh, I do have a lot going on.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
excited. I appreciate us having this conversation this morning because it is Women's History Month. And
Mhm.
part of celebrating women is supporting them through holding people accountable. So I'm grateful we had the tough conversation this morning about that. You can find me, just connect with me on LinkedIn, of course. And then what I got going on, I'll tell you, I'm excited and grateful that this afternoon at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, I'm a guest panelist for the Women's Air and Space Power Symposium, talking about sexual assaults. So I'm excited about that. And then Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm having a Cultivating Happiness Masterclass. And I have the link for it on my profile. But really, what it is it's 90 minutes, all the tools that you need to literally be happier. Simple as that. If you would like to be happier, you will be at my Cultivating Happiness Masterclass on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, we got, and go check out what Charleston got going on, because he got some awesome things that's going on and that's happening, and you guys want to be a part of that. Want to make sure that you're in it. You want to make sure that you knowing it, and because he is spreading the word, and he is working with people, and he is getting it done. Doing that. I think he had a workshop or something coming up soon, right? That you got
Yeah.
people coming to as well. So he got, go to his page. Let me put his link back up in there. Go check him out on LinkedIn. Check his page out. He'll have the links in. He's going to put his links into the comments, so you guys can go. You don't have to be looking for it, searching for it. He'll put the links in the comments so you guys have it, and you'll be able to go check that out, because it is definitely that. Me, as always, you can find me on LinkedIn. This is where I live. This is where I cultivate all my experiences. This is where it happens. I'm in the room where it happens. LinkedIn is the room where it happens, right? So disrespect to Instagram and Telegram and all the other grams, but LinkedIn is in the room where it happens. This is where the deals are being made, and it's where the people are getting the value, and this is where the money is, right? And I believe that, and I see that, and I've been a recipient of that. So definitely go to my webpage, check it out. We're busting into vulnerability again. We had a class that started on Monday. It is going lovely in the vulnerability transformation program. People there, man, I'm hearing some great stories. Some people opening up and sharing for the first time. I had to get my clinics yesterday. Yeah, I cry. Yeah, I don't have no problem with saying it. I had to get my clinics yesterday because I heard someone share their story with me, and it was really very moving. And we're moving forward with transformation, in that it is a safe space where we just come together. We walk through this program that I have set up, and we get empowered by who we truly are. We become authentic in who we are, and in doing that, we become better people. We become better leaders. We become better better actually followers. We've just become better general people in our own, and we live in the authenticity that is who we are. And that's what this program is all about. So you guys come check that out. And the rest of it is not too late. Classes start at Monday, but I could definitely catch you up if you register for that before this week is out. And tomorrow I'll be on as always. Like then I'll be on Real Talk with me and my host Charlene, who's in the audience with us. We're gonna be on tomorrow with another fabulous guest, as we always have. Just real talk. Where real recognize real. And I don't want to forget, you guys. I don't want you guys to forget at all. I don't want you guys to forget that on Friday, yes, we're continuing. We're continuing. So this is what we're doing, and this is where we are, and this is who we are. So again, my man Charles, we thank you, man, for another wonderful episode. We thank you guys who have come and shown up. We can't do it without you. And we see you guys next week with another great episode, and we will be addressing military culture. Until next time, see you guys next week. And our studio audience has something to say about that. What did they have to say? Yes, our studio audience gave us a round of applause, and we always appreciate that. I want to throw that in. I thought that was nice. I thought that was nice, bring a nice little humor to the show. But we see you guys next week. Until next time, we still addressing the military culture. You guys have a great rest of your week.